Do I have like underpants hanging out? That was great, Josh. Thank you. That was wonderful. So my book is Landfalls, and it's a novel about an ill-fated naval expedition from the late 18th century. And I've never done this before, but I'm going to read the epilogue. So there's some major spoilers ahead, but I figured when my publisher put a big picture of a shipwreck on the cover, they kind of gave it away. So I'm not doing anything they didn't do. So this is, and I don't think you really need to know anything about the expedition. This is the epilogue to the book. We were explorers on a voyage of discovery. Our charge from His Majesty, God rest his soul, was to complete and perfect the globe. We understood that to mean finding new places. Naturally, along the way, it might fall to us to fix the coordinates of locations that lesser navigators had mismapped. We might fill in the dotted shorelines that others had seen but dimly, hampered by winds or fog or laziness. We might even disprove the existence of islands reported long ago and drawn ever since on our maps, though never confirmed. But the real excitement, the promise of glory, lay in discovering places no European had ever seen, places that had been empty on the world's maps, terra incognita, or blank expanses of ocean, until we found and measured and named them. We were patient. It took a long time to get anywhere that hadn't been traversed by scores of expeditions before us. Our first task was to locate Ile Grande in the South Atlantic, reported by La Roche more than 100 years earlier and not seen since. La Roche had described a large uninhabited island supplied with trees and water and fish and an excellent port on its east coast, an ideal base for French whaling ships. 40 days we looked for it, 40 days of heavy seas and gales and squall after squall, during which we forgot what it meant to be dry or warm. We called our captain Noah behind his back and referred to our ship as the Ark. We cursed La Roche for his fanciful sighting. It was with relief more than disappointment that we declared the island imaginary and made for California. Less arduous was dispatching that persistent myth of a Davis land off the coast of Chile. That one had been cluttering up the charts of the Southeast Pacific for 200 years, ever since some English pirate called Davis claimed to see a low sandy island 500 leagues offshore and named it after himself. We wondered about men like La Roche and Davis. Were they liars or just bad navigators? Forgers or confused observers? Maybe they'd mistaken cloud banks or fog for land masses, some of us suggested. Others of us scoffed at this. Surely any shipload of seasoned sailors can tell the difference between a cloud and terra firma. We argued for a while, but it was good-natured debate. For we were now sailing into the open and we believed still explorable Pacific, and we were ready to discover, ready below with maps outspread and the journals of our predecessors open to the relevant pages, ready on deck and aloft with our keen young eyes and burnished telescopes. Only there was almost nothing left to find. Captain Cook, that greedy bastard, had made off with most of what was left. We surveyed the Hawaiian Islands, we called them the Sandwich Isles back then, and created our own charts, but they didn't improve much on the existing ones. We did land on Maui, the first Europeans to do so, and that bay still bears our captain's name, La Perouse Bay. We pressed him to claim the island for France. Claiming territory for our kings seemed very much of a piece with completing the globe for him, especially territory the English had seen first but not bothered to walk around upon. Our captain declined, however. "Who are we to take possession of this place?" he said. "These people have lived here for hundreds of years. Do they have no rights simply because we have muskets?" We felt chastened and puzzled and, to be frank, a little cheated by this response. Making charts that just confirmed the greatness of Cook's accomplishments didn't quite fit our notions of fulfilling work. Not that Cook's work was perfect. His people had charted Pilstair Island, a tiny outlier of the Friendly Archipelago, first spotted by Abel Tasman in 1643, and placed it almost 2 leagues too far south. We set that to rights. The Friendly Isles did very well by us, in fact, for we also corrected the location of Vavau, one of its biggest islands, a place with a decent harbor and fresh water. A Spanish captain, Francisco Morel, had discovered it a few years earlier and located it 6 degrees too far west. A mistake of that magnitude could consign one to sailing a long time in vain in search of safe anchorage and refreshment. We were forever correcting the work of the Spaniards, who for all their colonies and missions and galleons seemed unable or unwilling to create an accurate chart. But who among us aspires to be the great cavillers and naysayers of the high seas? We began with Ile Grande and proceeded to erase more from the world's maps than we added. It was one thing to be rid of Davis Land. The name itself lacked inspiration. But what a pity to lose Los Mojos. Or was it Los Majos, Las Mojas, or Los Moj? We sank not only the islands, but the entertaining controversy over their proper name. And when we expunged Rica de Oro and Rica de Plata, said to be wealthy islands inhabited by civilized and friendly white people east of Japan. At that point, we weren't in the business of completing the globe so much as laying waste to dreams. We lost a man during that search, a young sailor who fell into the sea from the foretopmast, drawn there by the captain's promise of a reward for the first man to sight land. It was a shame to lose him. And the islands, rich with gold, rich with silver. Every map should offer a few such temptations. Sometimes we felt less like explorers than like inquisitors, rooting out cartographic heresy. Do not misunderstand, we did make some discoveries of our own, like Frenchman's Bay in southeast Alaska, though it's not called that anymore, a terrible place, where an errant tidal current swept 21 of us away, the first calamity of the expedition. And Necker Island, a tumorous, uninhabited rock outcropping northwest of Hawaii, which we found one moonlit November evening. 2 nights later, we veered away just in time from a mostly submerged atoll that our captain called, and which we're pleased to say are still called, the French frigate Shoals. We also added a few pieces to the Samoan archipelago. We called them the Navigators. Site of our second calamity, 12 of us massacred by natives. Still, we hope to find something wondrous, a large landmass with people, a place to rival Tahiti or Hawaii or New Zealand. We discovered Vanikoro, of course, one of the Solomon Islands, although no one would know about that for many years. No sooner had we seen it than our third and final calamity was upon us. Perhaps it was our passion for discovery that doomed us, drawing us too close to the Vanikorian reefs when the weather glass was falling and the sky boiling with storm, making us beat into the wind when we should have borne away, inuring us to risk. Wasn't it what had led 21 men to their watery deaths while surveying a new bay? And tempted a young sailor too far out of yardarm, and blinded a watering party to the hostility of the islanders? Our immoderate desire eroded caution. But we're getting ahead of ourselves, for before our undoing in Vanikoro, there was the hallucination. It was June 16, 1787. We'd come north through the Sea of Japan and were exploring the Strait of Tartary. Fog obscured the continent, but around us the day was clear and pleasantly warm, with a cooperative breeze. Around 4 in the afternoon, the lookout cried that he spied land, and there in the south appeared a great landmass lying nearly perpendicular to the mainland, the gap between them very narrow. Drawing nearer, we could make out every detail of its terrain: mountains, ravines, coast, even curls of smoke that spoke of human habitation. Our hearts soared. Perhaps here, west of Japan, not east, was the fabled island of wealth and white people. Most likely it was nothing quite so wonderful, but surely it would be a discovery to rival any of Cook's. We held to the wind and made for the south-southeast. As we approached, however, the island began to shift, its forms and colors blending into one another, peaks swirling skyward, mountainsides collapsing into canyons, the shoreline draining into the ocean. We watched, despairing, as our discovery resolved itself into the most extraordinary fog bank any of us had ever seen. And then it dissipated like a conjurer's trick, leaving empty blue water in a clear view of the Tartary coast. We sailed all night in the ocean space our phantom island had seemed to occupy, though there was no need to confirm its non-existence. It was a sad, depleted exercise, like trying to console oneself while holding a dead lover's dress. The illusion was complete and shared by us all. So was the disillusion. Something faltered that day in the Strait of Tartary, for it turned out we were no better than the LaRoches and Davises whose cartographic fantasies we'd laughed off the world map. And if nearly 200 experienced sailors could mistake mist for land, then there was no apprehension to which we were not vulnerable. Suddenly, every outcome seemed equally possible and equally unreal. So when we first spied Vanikoro between the angry dark of sky and sea, a ribbon of green that appeared on no charts in our possession, we didn't know whether to believe our eyes. When the full power of the storm fell on us, we were loath to accept its lashing reality. It could so easily have gone the other way. We were still in doubt as the waters closed over us, the globe we had tried so hard to complete, swallowing us whole. Thank you.